I didn't used to review. I used to just start class with what was next. We just started and went. And then people were complaining that I was going too fast. And so the review thing has worked out pretty well. I'm going to let you guys review longer than other classes do. Alright, let's talk about changes in communication. Alright? Changes in communication. Obviously the telegraph. What is the telegraph? Does anyone know? Okay, it's the beep, 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 but very good. It's this. But what does that do? You can send messages across longer distances of land. Before this, if you wanted to give someone a message, what do you have to do? Pony Express went around yet. Do what? Yeah, you had to write it and someone had to deliver it. Whether it was you or a courier or later the Pony Express, which by the way is massively overdone. You know how long the Pony Express lasted in our country's history? 18 months. A year and a half. Like in America, the Pony Express was around forever. It was around for 18 months. And it was awesome. The idea of it was awesome. But as railroads became more popular, instead of giving it to a guy who had to outrun some, bandits and Indians, just put it on a train. That's way faster and safer and cheaper. Not as cool, but way faster and cheaper. The first ever telegraph, this was Samuel Morse, he clicked his little thing from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore. And do you know what message he sent? What hath God wrought? What hath God wrought? What have we done? This is the first time in human history where we communicate over long stretches of land and we do it quickly. Right? Think about your life today. Raise your hand if you've ever been frustrated because when you text message somebody, they don't text you right back. Raise your hand if you're pissed when people don't text you right back. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you guys are lying because your hands aren't up. Right? I'm sure that's happened before, right? We're like, oh my God. I'm texting this person, and I just texted them, and it's been like a minute. Where's the response? That's where we're at now.
Mr. Sarah, more like...
Yeah, somebody texted me last night a question about essays, and I am yet to respond.
Yeah.
Was that you? I'm sorry. I don't know. Maybe it's. Most people my age. I'll use my wife as an example. Everywhere she goes, her phone is with her. As soon as she wakes up on a Saturday, first thing she does, or even on some days, checks Twitter. She goes through all of her Twitter. Is it what you people do or not? No. She gets up and she checks Twitter automatically when she gets up. I would say it's her seeing the wires, what happened overnight. What's funny is, she doesn't look at the stuff I look at, like what happened internationally or economically or politically. It's all like what happened on E-News over the time or something ridiculous like that. Yeah, she likes her People magazine, which is embarrassing. I don't like that it comes to my house, but I put up with it. She doesn't know what's going on in Congress, but she knows all about Miley Cyrus's problems. She goes, Corey, I'm really worried about Miley Cyrus. It's like, who cares? About Miley Cyrus? She's like, she's really into some problems, Corey. I'm really worried about her. You know what? I got problems.
My cousins had no idea why the government shut down. I had to physically explain.
I would listen to some people, adults, talking about it earlier today, and I was like, oh, dear God.
I'm an ag class.
My first block juniors know more than they do.
It's awesome. I like it. But nonetheless, this literally is the first time in history where a message is sent across. And so we go from there to here, right? It does change everything. It changes everything. It changes the way people fight. It changes the way governments rule. It changes the way people behave. Today, our relationships are based on communication more than ever before, right? Our expectation of communication is so much different. Think about your parents or you. By the way, raise your hand if you ever got a text message from me from my computer about GT. I sent one already this morning, right? Yeah. Communication is the expectation level of it's there, and it changes the way that we actually live, right? It changes it, and this is the first time. And it's going to be really important to business, okay? Now let's talk about the textile industry. Okay, on with the textile industry. What they're doing is they're taking, Lowell is going to, a guy named Francis Lowell, is going to be the first one who's actually going to, there used to be factories that took cotton and made it into thread, and there used to be factories that took thread and made it into clothes. He's the first one that's going to take, who's going to take the cotton and make it into clothes, right? It's like one big factory. And Lowell, Massachusetts is going to be the epicenter of the textile industry. We're talking about Connecticut, Massachusetts, and upstate New York, and this area is just huge amounts of textile industries. I mean, these are literally making the clothes for much of the world, especially the United States. And what's happening to the population of America? It's expanding rapidly, right? And so they're getting a bigger market and a bigger market. And the significance of this textile industry is that literally they're going from home to the manufacturing plant. People were making crap at home, now they're making it in the factory. And at Lowell, this is going to start changing things because who's going to start working in these factories? Women, young daughters of farmers, right? Farmers' daughters are going to start working. Why is this importante? Well, what's going to happen is it's going to begin to really amplify differences between men and women politically. Some women are going to start, and this is not like, they go work on a Monday and they start calling for change on a Friday. But over time, what's going to start happening is the issue of women's rights is going to start changing because women are going to be having a little more economic power. The women staying at home with their families, that actually doesn't change as much. Now, there are definitely some working women. So what we're saying is if you're like working class, if you're working class or poor, then you probably are working even when you have kids. If you're a middle class woman, you might go and work in a factory until you have kids or get married, and then you're home. Does that make sense? It's going to change the social structure a little bit, but it's going to change the economic ideas later, and that will lead to political changes, right? Over time, women calling for more equality. Why are they using the North? Why aren't they making this stuff in the South?
Because
I mean, doesn't it make sense to do this stuff in the South, like where the cotton is?
No, because then you have to take up the farmland with factories.
Where are immigrants going, north or south? North. So the North is getting, and like I said, a lot of Germans went here, but some went here. So you're getting a lot of women, Irish specifically, but also some German women, some poor farmers' daughters, who are, you have a lot of people there, right? A higher concentration of population. Do what? Alright, so that makes the labor cheaper. I mean, it's not like Southern labor was expensive. But it was also spread out, right? So the Southerners were spread out more. You have a more dense population, it's a higher population, and you have quicker running water, like quicker running streams and stuff, which are able to power the factories more easily. So the North, because they had poor soil, because they had a more dense population. Also, remember we said that the North had lots of shipping, right? Trading, exporting, importing. So they had more docks to get goods back and forth. The South didn't have as much. They were underdeveloped. Think about Eastern Kentucky today. Isn't Eastern Kentucky underdeveloped compared to the rest of everywhere? Yes. Right? And so because of that, they are worse off economically. So then, why didn't the South industrialize? Where was most of the South? If you were rich and a Southerner, where often your money was in two places? Well, land and slaves. Most of your money was tied up in land and slaves. You didn't have a lot of extra money to invest otherwise. Also, so that was why not the South and why it was New England. I will go back up to moral guidelines. A lot of these places like at Lowell, you didn't just work in a factory. I think if you flip the paper over, you'll see that I've moved on. Right? Why it was New England, why not the South. A lot of these factories also, and we'll use Hannah as an example because she's a pretty useless person. So let's say you get someone like Hannah and she's the daughter of poor farmers. When she goes to work in this factory, it's not like she just goes home every day. They have dorms and apartments for these people. Well, yeah, and they have to pay rent to be there. They have very strict time. They can go to bed. They can go out. They have to wear their clothes perfectly, buttoned up, or they get docked. They have to go to church regularly. There are moral guidelines for these women. We can't, guys, we can't let these women have jobs and access to freedom without some real strict rules, right? Tevis, wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Women can't be allowed to do just anything. We have to have strict guidelines. We're going to end up like,
Nowadays.
we don't need that. Yeah, look what's happened now. We've got,
The government shut down.
that's what, because of women's rights.
Because women had a lot to do with it.
Right.
Tsunami.
We've got, I mean, look at today's, I mean, Hannah's got short hair, right?
I'm wearing pants.
She's wearing pants.
Is there anyone not wearing pants?
Yeah,
Like women?
you're wearing a skirt.
Oh,
I'm
we got
wearing
one. We
a
got one
skirt.
skirt.
You do have her ankle showing.
Look at Bailey. Bailey's got her ankles and her feet and part of her calves showing. She belongs in some sort of moral dungeon. If this was 1812. I did tell you guys about the fundraiser we are going to do, didn't I? About the shaving thing.
It's not gonna help me.
What girls, be honest, are not going to shave?
That's what it is.
Yes.
I thought they
We're not going to
I
shave.
just want to get Hunter to sponsor me so he has to pay up, because I won't have to pay anything if I sponsor him, because he doesn't grow facial hair.
He's like Native American.
He's a loser.
You take that back right now. Hunter Campbell's wonderful.
He's 50 at best. I spent all summer with him. I think that about this more.
Won't forget that. Hunter Campbell's a jewel. All right. Let's start talking about the business world, if we will. We've already talked about a lot of stuff already. One is the issue of limited liability. What is limited liability?